Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens part 139 based on novel. So let's start. Xiao Yan's eyes focused on the jade white rib cage. His mind had churned violently because of that shocking thought. Those 10 scrolls are all used to confuse people. The true treasure is actually on this skeleton. No wonder that old ghost Xiao Yan insists on attacking. It is because he is aware that the treasure is hidden on this skeleton. A thought hurriedly lingered on Xiao Yan's heart at this moment. He finally understood why old ghost Xiao Yan would actually go all out and fight with this Dosheng skeleton despite his cautious character. What a cunning old ghost. Xiao Yan laughed coldly within his heart. The flickering glow in his eyes was swiftly withdrawn. The purple-brown flame on his hand hovered over it once again. His palm was subsequently thrown out in a lightning-like fashion. Each palm violently landed on the rib cage of the Dosheng skeleton. Under the frighteningly high temperature, the scarlet color that was present on the bones also swiftly disappeared. By sweeping his gaze over it for a moment, Xiao Yan discovered that not every bone had the kind of mysterious characters. It appeared that only a couple of ribs near the abdomen had this kind of character. There are 3 ribs that possess this kind of characters. An excitement that was difficult to discover danced within Xiao Yan's eyes. He was certain that the characters on these 3 ribs were definitely the real Qian class Do technique. Xiao Yan did not dare to stay still for long after gaining an understanding of the situation. He was afraid that others might see it. Immediately, silver glow flashed under his feet as he narrowly dodged the blade-like sharp fingers of the skeleton. Everyone, put in more effort. This skeleton is about to be unable to endure any longer. Old ghost Xiao Yan looked at the increasingly faint scarlet color on the skeleton's body. A great joy involuntarily flashed across his face as he cried out loud. The others acted as though they did not hear anything in the face of his words. This skeleton was extremely troublesome to deal with. Its ability to resist attacks could only be described as perverse. This seemingly weak skeleton was able to endure against so many attacks from the combination of the 5 of them without showing any signs of cracking. If it was not because of the increasingly faint scarlet color that indicated that their attacks still had some effect, it was likely that even they would lose their confidence. Bang bang bang. The vast and mighty Do Chi was just like a falling star as it tore through the sky and heavily exploded on the body of the Dosheng skeleton. A frightening strength shook the unusually hard and firm large hull until numerous arm-thick crack lines were formed. Under the wild and fierce attacks by Xiao Yan's 5-men group, the scarlet color on the Dosheng skeleton became increasingly faint. The red glow in its eyes was leaping in an increasingly intense manner. At this moment, his body had also suddenly stiffened. Old ghost Xiao Yan and the others were startled when they saw that the Dosheng skeleton had suddenly ceased moving. Immediately, they grabbed this opportunity. A storm-like attack continuously poured downwards. Xiao Yan's heart also became a little uneasy when he was unleashing his attack. An elite Dosheng was far too powerful. Even a trace of remnant spiritual imprint would likely not be finished off in such an easy manner. Quick, leave the hall. Xiao Yan suddenly turned his head and transmitted a voice in the direction where little fairy doctor's group was at. The latter, who received this transmission, were startled. Before they could inquire anything, the entire group had already swiftly pulled back. Roar! Frightening attacks blasted apart on the surface of this Dosheng skeleton's body like fireworks. It paused for a moment before suddenly lifting its head. A somewhat vague low and deep hoarse voice appeared to be quietly emitted from the ancient times. Great! Heaven! Creation! Palm! A hoarse and ancient halting sound was transmitted into Xiao Yan's ear. It caused all the hair on his skin to suddenly stand up. A kind of extremely dangerous feeling spread apart from deep within the soul. Being driven by the horror of facing death, Xiao Yan had basically turned around almost instantly. Silver light flashed under his feet as he went all out to rush towards the distance. It is using a Do technique, withdraw quickly. While Xiao Yan had turned around and fled, Tang Zhen and the rest had also discovered something unusual. A shocked expression surged up their faces almost instantly. After which, they could not be bothered about anything as they hurriedly turned around and fled like mice. Bastards! The face of old ghost Xiao Yan turned green when he saw Tang Zhen and the rest fleeing almost instantly. He cursed furiously. While he cursed, however, his fleeing speed was also not the least bit slow. He had already fled over 100 meters with a flash. Xiao Yan's group, which had suddenly fled in a miserable manner, also stirred the attention of everyone in the large hall. Although they were unaware of what happened, they understood that it was definitely something really bad. Immediately, they clawed and rolled as they hurriedly pulled back. In an instant, the entire large hall had once again become extremely chaotic. During the time when the large hall was in a chaos, the scarlet color of the Dosheng skeleton's body appeared to have become alive. It completely gathered on the skeleton's hand. In an instant, it had already dyed the right hand until it appeared to have been immersed in blood for countless number of years. It was so dark and deep that it caused one to feel a chill within one's heart. Raw? When the final trace of blood gathered onto the right palm, a soybean-sized black dot suddenly appeared at the palm of the Dosheng skeleton. This black spot was really of an extreme pure black. If one was to glance at it, even one's soul would appear to be swallowed into it. It was extremely strange. The Dosheng skeleton suddenly raised its hand when the black-colored small dot appeared. After which, it smashed heavily on the incomparably hard ground of the hall. The stone floor did not emit any sound when the bone palm landed. The moment it made contact, the incomparably hard stone floor instantly disappeared, revealing the deep brown color rock under it. The ground disappeared. A black light circle suddenly surfaced from the stone floor. After which, it suddenly spread. The black light scattered. Countless number of people immediately became extremely shocked. Regardless of whether it was the stone floor, the stone pillar or any other thing, any place where the black circle reached would disappear. It had truly disappeared. Not even a little of it remained. This kind of feeling was just like a black hole, appearing mysterious and frightening. Quick, run! The frightening scene caused everyone to feel their skin become numb. This was especially the case when they saw that the black light circle was still continuing to spread. Their hearts had all become tensed as their bodies hurriedly withdrew. They ran quickly, but the spreading of the black light was even quicker. The thing that was even more shocking was that the interior of the light circle had erupted into an extremely frightening suction force. Some of the experts that were caught off guard had directly been forcefully pulled until they flew out. They disappeared when they touched the black light circle and did not even leave any dregs behind. The sharp miserable cry sounded one after another within the large hall. In an instant, numerous human figures began to struggle wildly within the midair. However, they were unable to resist that suction force. Finally, they were absorbed into the black light circle and annihilated. Xiao Yan's heart became numb when he heard the continuously miserable scream appearing. This kind of do technique was definitely of the Qian class. Xiao Yan's figure, which was rushing explosively, suddenly paused. His expression also suddenly changed. The suction force from behind was becoming increasingly frightening. It was already sufficient to affect his speed. Xiao Yan clenched his teeth tightly. His speed had been unleashed to its limit at this moment. Purple-brown flame lingered over his body. There were some repeated miserable screams continuously appearing in front of him as human figures flew out in an uncontrollable manner. The miserable screams from imminent death caused the hearts of everyone who heard them to feel a chill. The black light circle was just like a death god after one's life. It swiftly spread from the large hall. The entire large hall was also completely annihilated at this moment. The suction force is becoming increasingly strong. We must escape. Otherwise, we will definitely be sucked into it. Xiao Yan suddenly clenched his teeth as he sensed the increasingly strong suction force from behind. He actually forcefully turned his body around. Flame-splitting tsunami. Open mountain seal. Sea-flipping seal. Numerous unusually fierce attacks rushed out from Xiao Yan's hand. After which, it shot out violently. With the help of this thrust, Xiao Yan's figure also rushed backwards swiftly. However, these attacks that had shot out automatically disappeared when it spread to the black-colored light circle. The latter's spreading rate was not even halted for an instant. 3,000 lightning illusory body. Xiao Yan's hand seal changed once again. A spiritual avatar directly appeared in front of him. After which, he violently swung his feet onto the shoulders of this avatar. Under the push force, Xiao Yan's body immediately emitted a swoosh sound as he finally shot out of this large hall and heavily landed on the square outside. That avatar crushed onto the black light circle under the opposite push force and was quickly destroyed. Screech! After Xiao Yan escaped and rose upwards, the black-robed old man a short distance behind him also suddenly let out a sharp cry. His entire body shook as he transformed into a 10-feet large heaven demon phoenix. Both of his wings were flapped and he finally escaped from that frightening suction force. After which, he rushed out in an extremely miserable manner and collided violently on the corridor outside. Tangshan, Binghe Zunsha, Old Ghost Zhaixing and the rest also staked their own lives and raised their speed to their limits when Huangxian began to go all out. Finally, they charged out of the large hall at the last moment and miserably landed on a square. Everyone outside of the large hall were extremely frightened as they looked at the strange black light circle that spread within the hall. Fortunately, the latter had gradually halted when it had reached the edge of the square. Finally, it slowly disappeared in front of the gazes from the numerous survivors. After the black light circle disappeared, 1,000 feet large big deep hole appeared in front of everyone's gazes. At this moment, the spacious main hall did not even have the least bit of dross remaining. Gulp! Xiao Yan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He wiped off the cold sweat on his forehead. He had really sensed death earlier. It was likely that even if old Ghost Zhaixing and the others were to meet with the black light circle earlier, they would also definitely end up dying. Xiao Yan inhaled a couple of deep breaths. He suppressed the great storm within his heart as his eyes paused on the midair within the large hall. A jade-white skeleton was standing in the midair. The red glow within its eyes had completely disappeared at this moment. Clearly, the remnant spiritual imprint left behind by that elite Dosheng had also completely disappeared at this moment. Qian class Do technique. Xiao Yan's eyes stared intently at the jade-white skeleton. A shocking heat suddenly erupted from his eyes. During the time that Xiao Yan's breathing had become heavier because of the Dosheng skeleton, old Ghost Zhaixing on the square also revealed a wild joy that could not be hidden on his face. The residue spiritual imprint that the elite Dosheng had left behind also completely disappeared. Currently, this skeleton no longer possessed any offensive abilities. Although his heart understood that the bones currently did not possess any danger, old Ghost Zhaixing did not immediately act despite being filled with anxiety due to the frightening palm from earlier. Are you all right? Xiao Yan stood up from the ground. Little fairy doctor's group hurried over and asked in a worried manner. Xiao Yan smiled and shook his head. He saw that those in front of him were not injured and his heart sighed in relief. Fortunately, you have warned us in time. Otherwise, the result will be unpredictable. That palm from the Dosheng skeleton was really too frightening. It was likely that no one here could receive it. Tian Huazunja's eyes had some shocked expression. It was the first time that he had seen such a frightening Do technique. This should be the legendary Tian class Do technique. Moreover, this was the destructive force created by a residue soul that the elite Dosheng had left behind. If it was to be unleashed by a genuine elite Dosheng, it was likely that the large hall would not be the only thing that disappeared. Instead, it would be the entire remains or even half of the Bone Mountain range. Little fairy doctor spoke softly. Xiao Yan nodded. He had personally experienced the strength of this thing. If it was not because he had reacted quickly earlier, it was likely that he would be turned into a powder-like existence after having been absorbed into the black light circle. Quite a number of people here are unlucky. Ziyan laughed quietly in a somewhat gloating manner. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over the square and did indeed discover that the originally large crowd currently only had a few people remaining. Moreover, most of these people, who had survived, had a horror that covered their faces. Cold sweat soaked their clothes. These people could really be considered to have been completely frightened. Unfortunately, those scrolls have also been destroyed. Qing Lin spoke in a somewhat regretful manner. The treasure in this place is not those scrolls. Instead, it is that Dosheng skeleton. Xiao Yan smiled. His fiery hot eyes looked towards the jade-white skeleton that was suspended on the enormous deep pit. The skeleton not only hid the Qian class Do technique on it, but its body itself possessed a shocking amount of allure. Anything left behind by an elite Dosheng were all top-tier treasure. Most of those who have survived until now are experts with some abilities. However, it is fortunate that they were all injured. From the looks of it, the strength of our side is the preserved most completely. Tian Huazunja spoke softly. Xiao Yan smiled slightly and softly said, there is no need to hurry. Someone will eventually act from impatience. Little fairy doctor's group was startled when they heard Xiao Yan's words. His gaze glanced towards the direction where old Ghost Zhaixing was located. He could see that this old ghost current had a face with a wild joy that could not be hidden. This damn thing has killed so many experts from my Hall of Soul. Today, the old me shall act and turn this skeleton into dust. Old Ghost Zhaixing suddenly stood up when the eyes of little fairy doctor's group glanced over. He cried out in a righteous manner. After which, his body moved, transforming into a blurry figure that rushed over towards the Dosheng skeleton in the air above the deep hole. Humph, do you really treat us as fools? We have scattered the residue soul within the Dosheng skeleton after much hard work. Will we allow you to gain such a great reward? Huang Xian, Tangzhen, and Bing Hizunja let out a cold snort when old Ghost Zhaixing's body moved. With their eyesight, they were naturally able to tell that this Dosheng skeleton was extraordinary. How would they allow old Ghost Zhaixing to obtain such a treasure for no reason? The three of them moved their bodies at the same time when their cry sounded. With a couple of flashes, they had caught up with old Ghost Zhaixing. Each of them threw a palm towards the air. The frightening wind directly tore three dark black crack lines in the air. The fierce attack that rushed over from behind also caused old Ghost Zhaixing's face to change. The strength of Feng Xian's group was similar to his. Currently, the three of them had attacked together. How could he forcefully receive it? His body twisted strangely and a couple of after-images appeared in the mid-air and narrowly dodged the three wind. Their speed also ended up being reduced. Huang Xian and the two others rushed out after having blocked old Ghost Zhaixing. After which, they flew over the latter's head. Their large hands directly grabbed onto the Dosheng skeleton in a violent manner. Bastards, you are seeking death. Old Ghost Zhaixing's face was filled with fury when he saw this scene. The feelings from having joined hands earlier had already completely vanished. His hand grabbed across the space and a suction force erupted from it. It had actually directly styled the three figures in the midair for an instant. He also took the chance to flash his body. He took a step forward ahead of the others, grabbed with his large hand and caught an arm of the Dosheng skeleton in the process. Before he could pull with his strength, however, an incomparably sharp wind violently hacked towards his head from behind. Upon sensing this sharp wind from behind, the hand of old ghost Xiaoxing, which was grabbing onto the Dosheng skeleton, was suddenly swung. He directly used the skeleton to block his back. It was forcefully being used to block the palm wind from Huang Xian trio. Bang! Powerful wind exploded on his bones. A strong force shook old ghost Xiaoxing until he was being forced back. However, with the defense of the skeleton, he was not hurt. The wild joy on old ghost Xiaoxing's face became increasingly dense as he grabbed the Dosheng skeleton. He did not say anything as he held the skeleton and fled. You wish to escape? A ghost-like figure appeared in front of old ghost Xiaoxing just as he turned around. An enormous ruler that was accompanied by a fierce wind directly hacked viciously at him. Clang! The heavy ruler hacked onto the skeleton. Numerous sparks erupted. Xiao Yan's arm was also shaken until it became numb. Fortunately, that force also shook old ghost Xiaoxing until he took a step back. At this moment, Huang Xian trio had once again caught up. They similarly remained silent. However, Do Qi violently attacked the fatal spots all over old ghost Xiaoxing's body in an extremely ruthless manner. Everyone on the square was stunned as they looked at the 5 people who had suddenly ended up in a life-and-death battle because of a skeleton. With their eyesight, they were naturally able to tell that every strike from these people were ruthless. Clearly, they intended to kill the other party. It looks like that Dosheng skeleton is the treasure. Otherwise, it will not cause experts like old ghost Xiaoxing to go all out to snatch it. Those who could still survive after experiencing the various danger were naturally not some ordinary character. They understood the reason with just the blink of an eye. Immediately, his eyes flickered. Some of the bolder individuals involuntarily stood up and showed signs of intending to intervene. Humph, I advise those whose strength has yet to reach that of a 3-star Dozan to forget about such thoughts. When these fellows were about to act, the experts from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, Ice River Valley and the Burning Flame Valley stood in front of the large pit with icy cold expressions. Powerful aura spread swiftly. The faces of quite a number of people changed slightly upon seeing this. The combined strength of these few large fractions possessed quite a powerful strength. Even though they had some skills, they were unable to finish off all of these factions. Moreover, there were still a couple of genuine top experts in the midair. Even if they could charge over, it was likely that they would be unable to fight with them. These people could only shake their heads unwillingly when they thought of this in their heart. They abandoned the greedy thought within his heart. Natural treasures were things obtained by those with ability. They were only a source of trouble for those without any ability. Little fairy doctor's group sighed in relief when he saw that these fellows were deterred. They similarly did not wish for anyone else to intervene in the fight for the skeleton. Should that occur, it would only end up causing the situation to be even more chaotic. Old Ghost Xiaoxing appeared quite miserable when he was surrounded and attacked by the 3 experts with similar strength. Old Ghost Xiaoxing was also quite miserable. After enduring for over a dozen exchanges, he finally began to feel a little tired and chose to pull back. Although he wished to pull back, Huang Xian's group did not give him the chance to do so. After a fight, the 3 of them found an opportunity. Vast and mighty Do Qi directly struck violently on the shoulder of the Dosheng skeleton. 3 waves of vast and mighty Do Qi struck onto the same spot of the skeleton at the same time. The strength could split the mountain and burn the sea. Crack! The Dosheng skeleton was indeed extremely hard. However, it was also unable to endure this kind of all-out destruction. Immediately, a crack sound appeared. Old Ghost Xiaoxing grabbed firmly on the Dosheng bones. Its left hand had actually directly being broken by Huang Feng and the 2 others. Bastard! The bone in Old Ghost Xiaoxing's hand was flung off. His face was green as he grabbed onto the jade-white broken arm and roared furiously. His body flashed and flew towards the skeleton that had been flung off. However, his body had yet to reach it when a young figure appeared earlier than him. It grabbed the Dosheng skeleton with a broken left arm in his hands. Xiao Yan, you are seeking death. Old Ghost Xiaoxing immediately became furious when he saw the skeleton being obtained by Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan ignored Old Ghost Xiaoxing's roar. His gaze swept over the place, and other than Tangzhen, both Huang Xian and Bing He Sunja had also charged over with killing intent on their faces. Purple-brown flame hurriedly lingered within his palm. He grabbed the 3 ribs with strange hidden characters from the skeleton's stomach. After which, he pulled violently with all his strength. Crack! The Dosheng skeleton was extremely hard. Xiao Yan had used all of his strength in order to barely break the three somewhat weak ribs. A coolness spread over Xiao Yan's hands when the ribs landed in it. They appeared just like the best quality jade. His eyes swiftly glanced over, only to see unusual characters covering the ribs. An extremely faint luster flickered from these characters. At a glance, they appeared alive and were slowly wiggling. Xiao Yan did not observe them carefully at this moment. He kept them into his storage ring almost immediately. At the same time, his heart was also pounding intensely because of the excitement. Regardless of what happened, he had obtained this precious object. Since he had already obtained it, everyone could forget about getting him to spit it out today. The Qian class Do technique belonged to Xiao Yan. After keeping the three ribs into his storage ring, Xiao Yan did his best to suppress his rapidly beating heartbeat. He raised his eyes, only to see old ghost Shaixing, Huang Xian and Bing He Zunja rushing over with churning killing intent. Xiao Yan, hand over the Dosheng skeleton. Old ghost Shaixing roared furiously. His body suddenly quickened and his large hand grabbed violently towards Xiao Yan across the space. The space around the latter's body immediately collapsed, forming a concave spatial prison. Since you want it, I'll give it to you. The purple-brown flame around Xiao Yan's body surged out. It directly shook aside the collapsed space. His toes pressed on the empty air as his body swiftly withdrew. At the same time, the Dosheng skeleton, which he was grabbing in his hand, was directly tossed towards old ghost Shaixing in front of many startled eyes. Old ghost Shaixing was startled when he saw that Xiao Yan had actually really handed the Dosheng skeleton over. However, he did not hesitate much. He grabbed with his hand and once again held the Dosheng skeleton in his hand. Old ghost, swallowing all the food alone is not good behavior. Two cold cries suddenly resounded beside old ghost Shaixing's ears when his hand grabbed the Dosheng skeleton. Immediately, two large hands were extended over from behind with lightning-like speed and grabbed on the bone. After which, they pulled with a sudden force. Crack! Under the pulling force from such a terrifying strength, the Dosheng skeleton immediately emitted a crack sound. Its entire body trembled slightly. This is something that my Hall of Soul needs. The both of you actually dares to intervene? Old ghost Shaixing's face was green. His single arm firmly grabbed onto the skeleton. Do Qi was circulated in a crazy manner within his body as he transferred waves after waves of powerful strength into his hand. His mouth also let out a furious cry at the same time. Humph, other people might be afraid of your Hall of Soul, but my Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe isn't. Huang Xian merely laughed coldly in the face of the threatening words of old ghost Shaixing. The strength on his arm was increased instead of reduced. Even the space itself, where his hand was grabbing at, formed some tiny dark black crack lines. Bing He Zunja's eyes flickered. His expression was dark and cold and he similarly ignored old ghost Shaixing. The Hall of Soul was indeed large, but a person died for wealth and a bird died because of food. What did it matter if they had to offend this faction in order to obtain this Dosheng skeleton? Should he really obtain this thing and glimpse the secret to advance to a Dosheng, even the Hall of Soul would not dare to do anything to him. Creak creak. The three of them stood in the mid-air. Their hands were firmly grabbed onto the skeleton. Green veins bulged on their arms, appearing just like earthworm as they pulsed repeatedly. With them pulling this forcefully, some of the joints of the skeleton had also gradually become loose. Since everyone refuses to let go, the old me shall come and lend all of you a hand. Tang Zhen's figure had also flashed and appeared when all three of them refused to let go. His large hand grabbed on one side of the skeleton and he let out a loud cry. A frightening force also suddenly erupted from his hand. Crack! For experts, with the strength of 4 or 5-star Dozuns, used all of their strength at the same time. This Dosheng skeleton was finally unable to endure any longer. It emitted a bang in front of many stunned gazes. The 4 people flew backwards and the jade-white skeleton directly scattered apart. It turned into many bone fragments that scattered down from the sky. Damn you! Old ghost Shaixing's face became green when he saw the skeleton being destroyed. He lowered his head and saw the skull in his hand. The corner of his mouth twitched. His mission this time around was to bring the complete Dosheng skeleton back. However, all he had obtained was a skull and an arm. Dosheng skeleton. Quick, snatch! The many Dosheng bones scattered down from the sky. Finally, they were thrown onto the square. Those experts, who had originally gave up hope, revealed a wild joy on their faces when they saw this situation. Numerous figures suddenly shot upwards and wildly grabbed at those bones. Xiao Yan was also stunned when he saw this scene. He had only pulled off 3 weak ribs. It was unexpected that these fellows were even more vicious. They had actually pulled the skeleton until it turned into fragments. However, from the looks of old ghost Shaixing's appearance, it seems that he is unaware that the Dosheng skeleton has a Qian class Do technique hidden on it. Otherwise, he would not simply just leave it be. Xiao Yan glanced at old ghost Zhaixing, who had a green face as he held a skull and an arm, while this thought appeared in his heart. That chief of the Hall of Soul might not have told him of the Qian class Do technique secret when assigning this mission to him. Xiao Yan blinked his eyes and involuntarily laughed within his heart. This Qian class Do technique was hidden extremely secretively. If it was not because he was lucky to suddenly see it, it was likely that he would have difficulty imagining that it was hidden on 3 ribs on the body of the skeleton. However, these Dosheng bones are also quite usefully. Since I am unable to obtain a complete one, I should at least obtain a piece of it. Xiao Yan had already personally experienced the hardness of these bones. He had merely broke 3 weakest ribs, yet he had to rely on the frighteningly hot temperature of the 3000 lotus heart flame and used all of his effort. Even though this was the case, he could only break it. He had no means to shatter this thing. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over the midair and swiftly locked onto a relatively larger bone. From its appearance it should be a right arm of the skeleton. This thing was harder than the other parts. Hence, it did not suffer much damage. However, Xiao Yan was not the only one targeting this bone at this moment. There were also a couple of experts whose target was also extremely clear as they rushed towards that arm. Xiao Yan involuntarily laughed when he saw this. His toes pressed on the empty air and silver glow flickered under his feet. Within an instant, he had taken the lead to appear beside the bone in a ghost-like fashion. He grabbed with his hand and gripped it in his hands. Kai? Xiao Yan's sudden intervention also caused the experts, who were rushing over to this arm, to experience a change in expression. They forcefully stabilized their bodies in the midair and their faces were a little gloomy. However, when they thought about Xiao Yan's strength and little fairy doctor's group a short distance away, these people could only unwillingly grit their teeth and quickly turned around, rushing towards those other fallen bone fragments. Xiao Yan glanced at these people, who had quit after being aware of the difficulty. He grabbed the arm in his hand and gently weighed it. The arm was not very heavy. It was actually quite light. Only upon close inspection did Xiao Yan discover that these skeletons seemed to have some naturally formed unusual lines. There was even a fluorescence light vaguely being emitted from it, causing it to appear exceptionally mysterious. Xiao Yan looked at the bone arm. He mused for a moment before flicking his finger. A wisp of purple-brown flame surfaced on the tip of his finger. After which, he lowered the bone arm. Due to the bone being originally jade-white in color and the reflection of the firelight on it, its interior appeared to be transparent. It was possible to vaguely see a little liquid-like thing quietly flowing within the bone arm. This is Dosheng essence? Xiao Yan's arm immediately trembled when he saw this extremely faint liquid. Perhaps, the mission of that old ghost Zhaixing this time around was this thing. The interior of all these bones should have. Xiao Yan suddenly turned around after sensing this. He looked at the bone fragments that scattered over the square. He suddenly waved his sleeve and a suction force surged out. Quite a number of bone fragments flew towards him. This action of Xiao Yan naturally attracted the displeasure of quite a number of experts. However, little fairy doctor's group moved when they looked at Xiao Yan with furious gazes. They appeared in the midair and wrapped Xiao Yan around them. The appearance of this kind of powerful lineup immediately caused those fellows to dismiss the thoughts within their hearts. Xiao Yan looked at these bone fragments that were suspended in front of him. Upon careful observation, he discovered that not all of these bones possessed the kind of Dosheng essence within them. After a selection, however, Xiao Yan still found 4 bone fragments that possessed some traces of liquid. After which, he carefully stored them into his storage ring. He might be able to use these things in the future. Anything left behind by an elite Dosheng was a rare treasure. Xiao Yan tossed away those bone fragments that did not contain the essence of a Dosheng aside. His eyes swept over the midair only to discover that old ghost Zhaixing was gathering the bone fragments from all over the place with a gloomy expression. Some of the fellows, who had luckily obtained a bone fragment, had also become his target. He snatched the bones forcefully. His heart was filled with fury and he had also killed a couple of unlucky fellows in passing. Seeing the viciousness of this old fellow, those experts on the square, who were collecting the bone fragments, also hurriedly withdrew from shock. Even after old ghost Zhaixing had chased a couple of pieces down, he was still not satisfied with his gain. Immediately, his dark and dense eyes were rotated as he looked towards Xiao Yan in the midair. Xiao Yan lifted his eyebrows when he saw old ghost Zhaixing's dense eyes looking over. His face did not contain even the slightest fear as he laughed coldly. Why? Have you not snatched enough? Hand over the bones in your hands. Old ghost Zhaixing cried out in a dark and cold voice. You should come and try. Xiao Yan smiled slightly. He flicked his finger. 3 clusters of heavenly flames slowly appeared in front of him. The color of the 3 flames shone onto the eyes of old ghost Zhaixing, causing the latter's face to become volatile. The corner of old ghost Zhaixing's mouth twitched. His fury almost overcome his reasoning. However, he eventually controlled himself. The current Xiao Yan was already an elite Dozun. Adding his companions, who also possessed quite a great strength, it was likely that he would not gain much of a benefit if he attacked. Moreover, even until now, his heart still possessed a horror towards the might of the frightening fire lotus of Xiao Yan. If he was not because he had summoned the black-white Tianzuns over at the last moment, it was likely that he would have really lost his life in Xiao Yan's hand after being caught off guard. Old Ghost Zhaixing, I propose a collaboration. Do you want it? While Old Ghost Zhaixing was considering his chances of victory in his heart, a cold smile surfaced on Huang Xian's face a short distance away as he laughed out loud. Xiao Yang's expression immediately sunk a little when he heard this old demon opened his mouth. Were these fellows from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe finally unable to control themselves? What collaboration? Old Ghost Zhaixing asked faintly. We will join hands and capture this brat. The Dosheng skeleton will be yours. I only wish to take one thing from them, Huang Xian laughed in a dark and cold manner. The Dragon Phoenix origin fruit was far too important for the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. No matter what tactic they used, they must definitely obtain it today. Old Ghost Zhaixing narrowed his eyes upon hearing this. A moment later, his eyes were filled with ridicule and viciousness as he looked towards Xiao Yang in the midair. He immediately nodded gently. All right, agreed. The dark and cold smile on Huang Xian's face became even denser when he saw Old Ghost Zhaixing nodding his head. He slowly raised his head, looked at Xiao Yang's group in the sky and spoke faintly, hand over the thing and you might still be able to survive. At this moment, Huang Xian possessed a great confidence within his heart. Old Ghost Zhaixing was a genuine 5-star Dozun. The latter's strength was even a little stronger when compared to him. Now that the strong has joined hands to attack Xiao Yang, their lineup had already far surpassed Xiao Yang's group. Xiao Yang glanced at Old Ghost Zhaixing, who had a face filled with ridicule. He involuntarily laughed coldly and said, Old Ghost, looks like having lost one arm is insufficient to you. Relax, this time around, I will hack off all your limbs. Old Ghost Zhaixing's face involuntarily revealed a savage expression as he spoke sinisterly after Xiao Yan mentioned his broken arm. In that case, it will depend on whether you have this ability. Little Fairy Doctor roared coldly. Huang Xian laughed coldly. He waved his hand. The many experts from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe and the Wind Lightning Pavilion slowly stepped forward. Vast and mighty Do Qi spread out, causing the atmosphere of this place to swiftly become tense. Xiao Yan was without expression. He waved his sleeve and 11 puppets appeared. These puppets might not have any aura, but each of them had a dangerous feeling permeating over them. No one would dare to easily underestimate them. HMPH, are you planning to rely on your large numbers? Qin Lin also laughed coldly. A green glow flashed within her emerald green eyes. The space in front of her slowly became distorted. 10 figures appeared from nowhere in front of the many stunned gazes. The auras that were being emitted from within the bodies of those two leading black-clothed elders also stirred many shocked gazes. Everyone could tell that these two were also genuine Dozuns. Xia, Huang Yang? Since when did your 9 serene deep-ground python tribe get together with this brat? Huang Xian's eyes swept over the faces of those two black-cloaked elders. Their expressions suddenly changed as he exclaimed. Elder, that's not right. These two 9 serene deep-ground python tribe elders are rumored to have been missing for some time. Feng Qing's pretty eyes flashed as she suddenly frowned and said. Missing? Huang Xian was startled. Immediately, he appeared to have recalled something. His eyes suddenly turned towards Qin Ling. He spoke with some disbelief, so you are the mysterious murder that has turned the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe upside down. Qin Ling glanced at him but did not reply. Ha ha, good. Xiao Yang, it is unexpected that you are actually in cahoots with such a person. Given the character of those fellows from the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe, they will not let you off so easily. Huang Xian laughed out loud and said in the face of this silent admission by Qin Ling. Xiao Yan was unmoved by these words of Huang Xian. Since he had recognized Qin Ling, he already understood that he will definitely have some grudge with the 9 serene deep-ground python tribe. However, there was nothing worthwhile for him to regret. The 9 serene deep-ground python tribe might be powerful, but they could not be compared with Qin Ling in terms of importance within Xiao Yang's heart. He liked to help those close to him as opposed to the side of justice. This was because justice would not help him at a truly critical moment. Instead, his companions and relatives would risk their lives for him. You can just act if you wish to snatch something. Why are you just chipping away? Xiong Song curled his mouth impatiently. He let out a furious curse that turned Huang Xian's expression gloomy the moment he curled his mouth. Old Ghost Zhaixing, that brat's puppets are able to reach the strength of a 5-star Dozun after being strengthened by a formation. Leave these puppets for me to deal with. Our side will have experts to block the others. That Xiao Yan will be left to you. What do you say? Huang Xian's gaze turned towards old ghost Shaixing and said. The corner of old ghost Shaixing's eyes twitched when he heard this. Although Xiao Yan was merely a one-star dozan amongst this group, old ghost Shaixing clearly understood that this brat was the most difficult to deal with. That frightening Fire Lotus attack still caused his heart to feel some lingering fear even until today. Although there was some hesitation in his heart, this current situation did not allow old ghost Shaixing to reject the suggestion. That Fire Lotus was indeed frightening. However, it required time to be unleashed. As long as he pestered Xiao Yan, the latter would not have the time to unleash it. The Xiao Yan without that kind of Fire Lotus was not worth mentioning in old ghost Shaixing's eyes. After musing for a moment, he finally nodded. Elder, leave that brat for me to deal with. That white-haired man suddenly spoke at this moment. Xiao Yan had been in the limelight ever since he entered the large hall. This had caused the white-haired man to feel quite displeased. At this moment, he even ended up seeing that an expert like old ghost Shaixing have to act personally to deal with Xiao Yan. This caused him to feel as though he had been surpassed by the other party. You are no match for him. Old ghost Shaixing glanced at the white-haired man, shook his head and said. Although he was happy to let other people take over his place, but this white-haired man clearly did not possess the qualification to do so. The expression of the white-haired man changed immediately when he heard this. Due to old ghost Shaixing's strength, however, he could only forcefully swallow the displeasure within his heart. Before he could say anything, he saw Huang Xian wave his hand. All he could do was to clench his teeth and step back. After ascertaining their opponents, Huang Xian's eyes turned towards Xiao Yan's group. A densely cold expression flashed across his eyes. He had already sent news back to the tribe ever since they had left the ancient forest. He believed that with the allure of the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit, the tribe will definitely dispatch quite a number of reinforcements. When the reinforcements were to arrive at that time, Xiao Yan's group would definitely have difficulty escaping. That Dragon Phoenix origin fruit would also belong to his Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe when that time comes. Old ghost Shaixing, attack! Huang Xian cried out coldly. His foot suddenly stomped on the ground and his body slowly rose into the sky. At the same time, the experts from the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe and the Wind Lightning Pavilion also swiftly followed. Xiao Yan's face was icy cold. He was aware that if he wished to successfully bring the Dragon Phoenix origin fruit and the Qian class Do skill away today, he could not avoid a truly miserable battle. Everyone, we cannot force our will on everything. It is possible to try to get something that does not belong to you. Why must you meet in a fight? While many experts were approaching Xiao Yan's group, Tang Shen in the distance also sighed. His body moved and he appeared beside Xiao Yan. He looked at old ghost Shaixing and said, Valley Chief Tang, what do you mean by this? Huang Xuan and old ghost Shaixing coldly cried out with sunken expressions when they saw this action of Tang Shen. Our Burning Flame Valley owes a favor to young friend Xiao Yan. The old me naturally cannot just watch idly by the side. Tang Shen was also a little helpless. He wanted to befriend Xiao Yan. In that case, he must not just shrink by the side at this moment. Otherwise, the good relationship between the two would completely disappear. Tang Shen, you should think more for the Burning Flame Valley. Old ghost Shaixing cried out furiously. He saw that this side of his had occupied the upper hand. How could he not be furious if the Burning Flame Valley was to intervene? Moreover, he was extremely clear of Tang Shen's strength. Even he did not have the confidence to defeat the latter. Should Tang Shen intervene, the situation would definitely be reversed. Old ghost Shaixing, there is no need for you to threaten the old me. You have not even been born when my Burning Flame Valley held sway over the Central Plains. Tang Shen had a cold face in the face of old ghost Shaixing's threat as he spoke in a deep voice. The faces of old ghost Shaixing and Huang Xian changed when they heard this. They did not expect that the relationship between Tang Shen and Xiao Yan would reach such an extent. Valley Chief Tang, you cannot put in this way. It is not good for you to participate in the matters of others. Coincidentally, my Ice River Valley opposes the Burning Flame Valley over the generations. Today, allow this venerable self to try and see just how strong your Burning Flame Valley's 9-dragon lightning flame is. During the time that old ghost Shaixing and Huang Xian were quietly feeling furious in their hearts, Bing He Suncha, who had been watching the show, smiled faintly. He also had some grudge with Xiao Yan. Back then, quite a number of Ice River Valley's elders had died in the latter's hand. Even when he personally showed himself, he had ended up with an ashen face because of the Jiyu clan intervening. Given his character, he would naturally not put aside such a grudge so easily. Currently, it was the best opportunity for him. Bing He, are you also intending to intervene? Tang Shen's face sunk slightly as he slowly demanded. Bing He Sunja smiled. His strength was indeed a little weaker when compared to Tang Shen. However, it was not impossible to hold back the latter. At that time, once old ghost Zhaixing and the rest finished off Xiao Yan, it was likely that this Tang Shen could only leave in a dejected manner. Moreover, as long as Xiao Yan was dead, he would be able to relieve his terrible anger. Due to him not being clear about the relationship between Xiao Yan and the Jiyu clan, Bing Hizunja did not wish to personally attack and kill Xiao Yan. Otherwise, he might end up attracting some unnecessary trouble. However, the Hall of Soul and the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribes were all renowned large factions on the Central Plains. Their foundations were quite solid. Although the Jiyu clan was powerful, it was impossible to cause them to feel any fear. At this moment, there were still quite a number of experts remaining on the square. They looked at this face-off that had suddenly implicated many large factions. All of them involuntarily felt momentarily speechless. All of those people in the sky were not ordinary individuals. If they really end up fighting, things would be quite interesting and lively. Ha ha, we will definitely return the favor of Bing Hizunja lending us a hand in the future. The suddenly help also caused old ghost Zhaixing and Huang Xian to rejoice. They cupped their hands together towards Bing Hizunja. Their gazes once again turned towards Xiao Yan's group. With a wave of his hand, he cried out sharply, "Attack!" Bang! The sharp cry had just sounded when old ghost Zhaixing and Huang Xian took the lead in the offense. They rushed towards Xiao Yan's group with lightning-like speed, appearing just like large eagles pouncing on their prey. Vast and mighty Do Chi shook the air until it trembled. "Xiao Yan, you can answer this vengeance for the broken arm now." Old ghost Zhaixing had a ferocious expression. A roar that was filled with killing intent resounded over this entire place like a furious thunder. Xiao Yan inhaled a deep breath of air as he watched the crowd that came flooding over like wolves and tigers. His eyes were shut slightly as the seal formed by his hands changed swiftly. Purple-brown color flame whistled out like a fire dragon around his body. An instant later, he suddenly opened his eyes. A flame erupted from within his dark black eyes. "Charge!" Do Chi immediately erupted from the bodies of little fairy doctors group when they heard this dense cold cry. Vast and mighty Do Chi pressure spread over the entire place. A truly terrible battle had finally erupted abruptly at this moment. This video will end here.